Hey there everyone, it's Ed here from Bunch of Swines. Today we are going to cook a brisket. We're going to have a look at how we like to cook them, low and slow. Today we're going to cook this on our Yoda YS640 pellet grill, but really, this same method and timelines can be used on any kind of smoker. So whether you're cooking on a Weber Smoky Mountain, a Pro Q, a Traeger, or even a drum or whatever. The timings that we're going to use for before we set the bark, how we're going to wrap it, and then when we're going to check for tenderness, it's all going to be the same. So I'm just going to use the Yoda today because it is a work day. It's nice and early at the moment, so I can get it fired up. I can put the brisket on, and I can just leave it alone all day whilst I do my job. So we're gonna fire up the Yoda, get this nice and hot, and then we'll look at putting a brisket on. Okay, our Yoda is now pretty much up to temperature. It's actually just coming back down. The way that the Yodas start, they always start up at I think it's like 350 Fahrenheit. Basically warms all of the thick steel up, also cleans off any nastiness that was left over from your last cook. I've got it set in for 250 Fahrenheit. This brisket's going to go on there and just cruise all day. So with these, this is the brisket that we actually separated out on another video. So we're just getting around to cooking it today. So I am cooking it in two pieces. So the first bit I'm taking is my point, and with that, I'm going to place my point right up next to the smokestack. The reason why I'm putting it there is because I know that's actually my hottest, or one of the hottest parts of the cooker. So because of the extra fat that's in the point, I want that to kind of render out. And then with the flat, let's see. And then I'm just going to lay the flat there. Maybe push it in a little. And that's it. There's not really anything else to do. Just got to close the lid and let it cook. So normally, I would just leave that alone. I would leave that for 7.5 hours. I don't know why the half, but 7.5 hours is like the magic number. So it's just coming up to 9 o'clock now, so I'm going to go to work, do the day job, and then we're going to come back a bit later. I'm probably going to check it occasionally throughout the day just to see how the colour's forming on it, and then we'll look at it again when we come to wrap it. So the brisket's been on now for about 3 hours. The Yoda's just sitting steady at 250 as you'd expect it to. We're running this on a mix, basically on hickory pellets. So these are basically compressed sawdust, pressed down, no binders. So it burns a complete wood fire, and just adds the smoke and the heat all the way through the cook. What we're going to do, just going to have a quick look at it. I know I'm miles away from this being ready to wrap, but just want to have a look at how the bark's forming, how it's colouring up, and just get have a bit of a look and smell of it. So we're now coming up to about 4 hours into the cook. Again, Yoda's still sitting steady at 250, around that area. Just want to have a look at the colour, see how it's gone from, as it was before, where it was just looking very dry on the outside. Hadn't really darkened up that much on the flat. So let's just open this up and have a quick look. And here you can see that we've got ourselves a nice colour forming now. The brisket's starting to sweat a bit as that bark is forming nicely. Like I said, this is only 4 hours in. I've still got another 3 hours, 3.5 hours before I'll be looking to wrap it. But Yeah, you can see we've got a nice bit of redness, so I can see the smoke's penetrating nicely. Yeah, these are going to come out good, but I'm just going to close this back up and we'll come back to it in a bit. Brisket's been on now for a little over 7 hours, so we're just going to have a quick look at it, see how it's looking. Yeah, we should be getting ready to wrap pretty soon. So yeah, you can see we've got a nice bark. It's all sweated on there, on the point, the flap. Yeah, I can just touch there. You know, I can see that the bark is set fully. You know, I don't bother spritzing briskets when I'm cooking them on this. So, you know, this is going to be ready to wrap in a few minutes. So, you know, I'm just going to leave it to finish off, and we'll get ready to get set up with some tin foil and some beef stock, and get ready to wrap it up, and then we can just finish it off and get it nice and tender. So you can see, we're 7.5 hours in, just coming up to 165, so perfect time to wrap. So now we've got our tin foil out and ready, you've got the fold sided up. I'm just going to take the flap off of the cooker and just place that down in the middle of our foil, and then we're basically going to add then we're going to add about a cup, or just under a cup, just enough to make sure it's got a nice coating. There's still plenty of fat to come out of this brisket, so a bit more. Bit of dry patches down the side. And there we go. And now we just put a couple of bits of tin foil on top, and we just fold it up again like a pasty. And now that's all folded back up, nice and tight. We're just going to place that straight back onto the cooker, and then we're just going to do the same again with the point. Now that our meats are wrapped and we've got them back onto the cooker, normally cooking low and slow, I would expect this to take something in the region of like 3.5, 4 hours more to get it tender. For some reason on the Yoda in particular, it tends to cook a lot quicker once it's wrapped, so I'm probably going to check these in a couple of hours just to see how they're doing tenderness wise. If they're not ready, I can just keep on cooking, but I kind of just want to make sure that I don't miss the window of when it's tender and sort of end up with an overcooked brisket. So, but as it stands at the moment, everything's going accordingly, going to plan. So we're just going to leave this now for a couple more hours, and we'll come back and check it and see if it's ready. Okay, the brisket's been on now for a little bit longer than I was expecting. I think it's probably because I'm cooking on the top rack rather than on the lower rack. So, but we're still sticking within that typical low and slow timeline. So, it's about 4 hours now since we've had it wrapped. So I just want to check it for tenderness. I think we should be getting pretty close. I mean we're getting there. It's really close. The flat is. I think the point is probably done. So I'm going to take the point out and we're going to have a look at that. I'm going to leave the flat on though a little bit longer. Probably just needs another 20 minutes or so. There's one little spot where it's still a little tight. So we'll let that carry on cooking and we'll have a look at these burnt ends. So we're just going to open up this foil, have a look at what we've got here. So I can see that's looking nice. Yeah, I mean just poking it with my finger, I can just feel that it is nice and tender. Just picking it up. Yeah. So that's done. I mean that's done. As always, I'm going to leave this to sit out for a bit so the bark can harden up. Then I'm going to close it back up. When I'm cooking burnt ends, I cook them at this stage till they're done. I don't. I will possibly sauce them after I cube them up and put them back onto the smoker, but I'm only looking to set a glaze. They'll only go back on for 10 or 15 minutes. I'm not one of these people that's going to cube it up, put it in a tray with a load of stuff, and then cook it for another 2 hours. These burnt ends, this point is cooked perfectly at the moment. So any more cooking I'm going to do to it is just going to overcook it. So I don't want to do that. So it's probably sat out for a little bit now. So I'm just going to wrap this back up, and keep it warm until our flat's ready, and then we can start cutting it up and seeing how we do it. Okay, we've left the brisket on for another, I don't know, something like 20 minutes or so. I'm just going to have another check. It was really close, so I am kind of expecting it to be done. So when I'm probing it, I'm just taking my probe, pushing across the grain and just feeling, trying to see if there's any resistance or not. So I mean that's good. So I'm going to take this off the cooker, and then we're going to vent it and have a quick look at it. So I'm just going to open up the foil, like we always do. So the reason behind venting it, as we call it, is to let the steam out, stop the brisket cooking any further, and also to let the bark harden back up. So as we open it up, you see there's a lot of steam that comes out of that. There's a lot of steam that comes out of that. The bark itself is quite wet at the minute, so this venting kind of lets that steam evaporate out of the rub, out of the bark, lets it reset, and then it'll be fine later on. So I only need to do that for a couple of minutes, so I'm just going to leave this to carry on venting, and then we'll wrap it back up, we'll let it rest, and then we'll be good to slice into it. Okay, our burnt ends now have had a bit of time to rest. Our flat's still resting, but I kind of want to get this all cut up and ready to to serve later on. So I'm going to basically take the point out of the foil, and we're going to have a quick look at this. So there you go, you can see I've got my my point here, so I'm just going to spin it around, go from this side. I mean, you don't have to cut it like this, but force of habit for me from years of competition barbecue, so I'm just going to cut this nicely. And then I always like to just trim off these little edges. I kind of see them as like chef's perk. And then, yeah, one last lot. There we go. So let's go in the middle here. Yeah, you can see we've got this nice and juicy. You know, if I squidge it like that, you know, it pulls apart pretty easily. Tastes really damn good. Those are really good. So it's yeah, you can see in that one here, yeah, we've got quite a nice smoke ring. You know, quite a deep smoke ring going into it as well. So, you know, that's that's exactly what I'm looking for in a burnt end. Normally, I would probably sauce these up. I'm not going to sauce these up tonight because I've got some other plans with them. So I'm going to just put them back in the foil for now, and we can bag those up and save those for a lunch or a dinner over the weekend. So now that we've got the point done, let's have a look at the flat. Forgot I had those barbecue band-aids on. So, you know, here we go, we've got our flat here. Yeah, I can see the bark's firmed up a bit. I could have left it a bit longer, it would have gone harder, but I'm not that worried. You know, just cutting into that. You know, you can see we've got a nice smoke ring going through it. Nice little moisture actually going through the flat. You know, I'm not one of these, you know, I'm not one for the brisket squidge videos that people love to do, because a lot of the time they're actually just squidging out the fat. But I mean, if I cut this fat away, yeah, you can actually see here. So we've got, you know, lovely tender, and then, you know, you can just see the juices, you know, that's actually coming out of the meat, not coming out of a fat vein. So that's a really nice piece of brisket. So I'm just gonna try and take some of this fat vein off so I don't have to cut it off every slice. So just yeah, I always go a little bit under the pencil thick. I always think that's a bit much. Some people like it really thick. You know, I always think, you know, if you have it a bit thinner, if you want it thick, you can just have 2 slices. Tony. That's so okay, just keep going through. Yeah, and again, I'm always cutting straight across the grain. Funny enough, whenever I'm cutting a brisket at home, the dog always loves to go by my feet in case anything comes flying off the table, and he can hoover it up. So just getting to the end of this. Yeah, the edges always become a bit more frayed, a bit overdone, so yeah, I normally save those for like a chili or something else like that, but you know, if I fan these out a bit, you know, sort of get bit of a better look at some of it. Let's move those bits over. But there you go. So that is our low and slow brisket. You know, cooked to 250 on the Yoda pellet grill. You know, basically takes about 11 hours. Obviously wrapping it in the foil, and you know, this is going to be a great eating brisket. So there you go. That's how we like to cook brisket, low and slow. Whether it be on the Yoda pellet cooker or whether it be on a Weber Smoky Mountain, a backwards cabinet smoker, whatever it might be. You know, I mean, we've used that method, those timings for years, and you know, not just in catering. You know, before we started cooking hot and fast on the gateway drums, you know, that was like my go-to method. Cooking brisket in contests for, you know, something like 5 years or so, and we did really well with it. So hopefully, you know, you find that useful, you know, and hopefully you give it a try. You know, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. You know, put some comments down below, and you know, if you've got any questions, feel free to, you know, again, get in touch with us, and you know, we'll see you again on another video.